Sometimes life gives you dreams that feel too big for your pocket. And sometimes those very dreams become the reason you keep moving. This is the story of Anderson, a man who refused to give up, even when life told him no. Anderson lived in a small rented room and worked as a helper in a car workshop. He wasn't born rich, and he wasn't lucky either, but he carried something powerful belief. Every day, he worked long hours, fixing other people's dreams their cars, while quietly building his own in his mind. He wanted to open his own garage someday, not for money, but to prove to himself that effort matters. At night, while the world slept, he stayed awake, planning, writing, learning. His heart was tired, but his hope wasn't. Every note he wrote was a small step toward his dream. After years of saving, Anderson finally found a place he could afford. It wasn't big, it wasn't fancy, but to him, it felt like victory. He said to himself, "This is where my story begins." He painted the walls himself, cleaned every corner, bought second-hand tools, the kind most people throw away. But to him, they were golden. The day he opened his shop, he felt like the world had finally noticed his effort. But life had other plans waiting for him. A week later, a heavy storm hit the city. The roof leaked, tools rusted, and customers stopped coming. His dream began to fall apart. He sat there in silence, staring at the mess, asking himself if dreams were only meant for lucky people. He felt lost, broken, invisible. Just when he was about to quit, his phone buzzed. It was a message from his mother. "Son, remember, a seed breaks before it grows." Those words hit him harder than the storm ever could. The next morning, Anderson stood in front of the mess, and instead of seeing failure, he saw a test. The storm had taken everything, but not his will to try again. He borrowed a ladder, patched the roof, and dried his tools one by one. Every nail he hammered carried a message. "I'm not done yet." Days passed, but no customers came. He waited from sunrise to sunset. The world walked by, unaware of his silent fight. Then one day, an old man's car stopped near his shop. While others ignored him, Anderson ran to help. He fixed the car, not for money, but from the heart. The old man smiled and said, "You remind me of myself when I was young." That small smile was worth more than gold. The next week, 2 more people came. Then 5, then 10. Word had spread there was a mechanic who cared more about effort than money. His garage started growing not because of luck, but because people could see the honesty in his work. Every repaired engine carried his heart inside it. Months later, he changed his signboard, not to show success, but to honor struggle. It now read Anderson's Auto Works, and the city finally knew his name. He started teaching young workers, the same way someone once gave him a chance. He believed that greatness isn't in rising alone, but in lifting others along the way. That night, as he sipped his tea, he looked at the city that once ignored him and whispered to himself, "When life said no, I said try again." After months of hard work, Anderson finally visited his village again. He wasn't rich yet, but this time he walked with quiet pride. When his mother saw him, her eyes filled with tears, not of pain, but pride. Her son had learned to stand tall again. That night they shared stories, laughter, and bread. He promised her, "One day you'll never have to worry again." Months later, he opened his second garage, the one he once dreamed of when he had nothing. Now, people lined up outside his shop. The same city that once passed him by now trusted his name. He saw a young boy sitting hopelessly beside a broken bike, just like him years ago. Anderson smiled, handed him a toolkit, and said, "Try again." That year, he was honored as Man of Determination. But Anderson knew the real reward wasn't the trophy. It was the journey. He often drove through those rainy roads that once tested him, only this time, he smiled through every drop. Every sunrise reminded him of one truth. Life doesn't end when it says no. It begins when you say, "Try again." Because those who keep trying, even when no one believes, they don't just fix engines, they rebuild destinies.